What's going on, digital world? Welcome to the Web Buzz Podcast, the best podcast for real estate professionals, small business owners looking to better market themselves online. I'm joined, as always, by my sidekick, my co-host, Mr. Roger Valdez, aka Google Nader. I got to say this real quick before you say hi. On our mastermind call earlier today, I referenced to you as Google Nader, and in a mastermind of a bunch of digital agencies, they all laughed like crazy that you carry that nickname with you. So just something fun for you today.
Nice, man. Already making it a little bit of a staple.
Absolutely. So
nice. But I got to give you credit for it, though, right? It's like this just came out of just fun and games as we kind of do this podcast and flow through it, and it's just what we do, man.
That's it.
It just stuck. So awesome.
So before we dive into today's topic, how's the new process of life? Are we getting a little more, how do I want to say, organized, I guess? Like, are we starting to get some of our stuff?
Oh, yeah. In regards to kind of the move you're talking about, right? It's
Correct.
Like this life.
You've kind of been living in a shell of a house for a few weeks.
Exactly. And this is a great documentation of entrepreneurship at its best, right? Or whatever it is, not at its best, because we have actually one of our personal clients that's going through a similar situation, right? She's moving with her whole family to a completely different place. So it's really, really cool to share that with her as well as we share stories, but very similar. But for us, obviously my wife is military, and we did a whole, transoceanic move, right? So we crossed the entire Pacific. I would say half of our stuff, or a little more than half of our stuff, is now here. Earlier today, I was out in Baltimore picking up our car, right? Our Jeep. So now we have a car. So we're getting there. I think we have one more big load of personal kind of essentials for our home, and we should be 100%. But when it comes to now switching it over to, say, my wife's work and me on the entrepreneur side and our digital agency that we run, it's starting to get more into a routine, right? It's taken a bit, but I'm feeling a little better, man. So this is one of the weeks where I can take a good deep breath and say, all right, we've taken some steps.
So does this mean next week when I come there, do I need to bring my my help you move muscles?
Oh, man. Well, hopefully, actually, I'm going to cross my fingers that our shipment gets here when you get here, so you can help me bring
All right, I'll come prepared.
No, we should be okay. Just make sure you pack like a sleeping bag or something.
Gotcha. All right, so we got a great topic today. I feel like we have a great topic every single week, but this one is definitely one that, folks, you're going to want to be tuning in the next couple weeks because it's going to build. The topic is going to kind of expand, and I love how you said it backstage before we went live. It kind of is perfect timing. We've got our workshop coming up next week, which, if you guys don't know about that, we've got our digital marketing workshop in Baltimore and online, a virtual event next Sunday, a week from this coming Sunday, September 19th. You can get yourself registered now online over at topresultsconsulting.com, or hit us up. We'll get you the direct link to the page. 100% free event. And a lot of what we're talking about today in the workshop, we're going to dissect that onion even deeper on the podcast over the next couple of weeks. We're going to break it down a little bit more as well on there. But it's a big problem in the real estate investing space. And that is, my website tends to be flat or dead, right? There's just I'm not really understanding why nothing's happening from my website. And you and I, we both know there's a couple things. There's a couple little tweaks that could take it from dead and non-existent. I love how you say it all the time, not even in the game, right? Page no man's land of Google to at least being page 100. That's a win in the process. And then obviously being able to move it up. The cool thing is, when you pay attention to this and fix it, it starts to become an asset for the business. And I was telling our mastermind group how last week I spent most of the week recovering. First couple days out of the week, I was on a trip. Second half of the week, unexpected trip to the hospital and spending some time kind of recovering it. Yet I look at my calendar this week and I've got like 7 or 8 opportunities that have been booked onto the calendar that have all come through our website because we've paid attention to these couple things we're going to talk about today. And yeah, we're an agency, but these same things apply in the real estate space to a real estate website, and why a lot of real estate investors are saying, my website's broken in a sense, or I just don't really get anything from it. Anything on that kind of high level aspect before we get into specifics?
Yeah, no. I think you kind of pointed out. By the way, I do want to say, glad to have you back, man. I'm glad you're feeling better. So that was a little bit of a scary moment for all of us, that you're close to us. So we're glad to have you back. I know a lot of the people that listen to us and everything. So glad you kind of bounced back and we got you back. But in regards to the topic, I think you're good. I mean, I'm not going to get into details because we're going to jump into it. I want to really kind of get strategic and dissect this really good. But I do want to say, before we kick off, something that's very common that everybody likes to talk about, and they like to kind of look at YouTube videos or listen to influencers that have a lot of cool stuff to say, which they're educating at a high level, really good. But that's the thing, at a high level, right? So they're touching on what a lot of times we call it sexy, right? The sexy talk. Let's talk about Google rankings. Let's talk about lead, conversions. But we don't talk about, peeling back the onion and looking at everything that it takes to get there, right? And a lot of times when you start comparing yourself to a competitor, right, or even an influencer in your space, it's a non-comparison because those guys have been working on their digital marketing for years. And you're coming in as a newbie and you're expecting, for everything to happen overnight. So today, on this podcast, we're actually going to peel back the onion a little bit and start looking at why REI websites don't generate leads, right? And then you can kind of start looking at, what am I doing or what am I not doing? And when you start making those tweaks, it's really, really interesting for me, Shawn, and everybody that works with us, our clients. It's like when we start tweaking a little bit, you start seeing the needle move. It makes a huge difference, and it just depends. You got to know which what to tweak, where, and when, right? So anyway, that's kind of a good way to kind of start, right? It's like we're going to get beyond the sexy talk and get into the non-popular topics, and that's what makes the needle move. Unfortunately, right? It's a little bit of work.
Yeah, I mean, I wish we could stay kind of fun, sexy, all the cool stuff all the time, but you're right. At the end of the day, getting your website to do something is really about working the website, right? Making it an asset, not just a liability to the business in the sense that it's sitting out there forgotten, outdated information, this type of stuff. So let me ask this to get us kind of rolling here. Primary thing, right? I know you and we can go forever and really dissect this pretty deep, but what would you say is like number one major problem on why most real estate investors, and I know folks, we're going to talk really specific to the real estate investor here, but I don't care if you're a small mom and pop shop owner, this probably applies to you as well. But why do most real estate investors struggle with their website generating any leads? Number one, like big problem.
Well, it's a loaded question, Shawn. So I'm gonna unfortunately, like anything else in digital marketing, there's a depends and kind of like those type of annoying answers. But what I'm going to do here, I'm going to try to do something a little better, and I'm going to answer this question on a situational, right? Depending on your situation. That's the honest truth, because it does depend on your situation. For example, if you're sitting there and you're wondering why you have an existing website and you're wondering why your website is not ranking and you haven't done anything else, maybe you just had, you built it, or, your son or daughter built it or something like that, right? And you're wondering why it's not doing anything. A lot of times those websites are built with minimal information, and we kind of call those either a credibility type website, almost like a resume type website, or a brochure, right? And that's all it is. You came up with the content. You did not do any research on your competitors or popular keywords. You basically came up with information that you think people want to hear about your business. And in most cases, we're wrong, unfortunately, just to be completely honest, right? And you put it on there. And what Google's doing, even if Google scans it and it compares it, because you're kind of in a race, right? When it comes to rankings, you are in a competition. You're trying to create a website content that's better than your competition, right? Because what Google's a business. It wants to give its searchers, us, right, the Googlers, it wants to give us the best result possible. Because if they don't, we're going to go to another store, right? Another search engine. So they need to be able to produce. So their algorithm, when we talk about that, does that, looks for the best result for the question that the person put into Google. So if you have a website that's just a brochure, has nothing more than just a little bit of information, your contact information, your business name, and just maybe 1 or 2 sentences about what you do, and maybe even some content that has not even relevant to your business. Those websites tend to be more brochure type websites, so they're not going to do anything. Why? Not that there's anything wrong with it technically, it's because Google thinks there's better websites with better content than you. So they're gonna rank, those competitors are gonna outrank you. So that's number one on this list. Number 2 situation under this is that your website depends who built it, depends what, maybe you took a program and they taught you to build certain things. It could be built for a very specific strategy. Like I run into this all the time, or Shawn and I run into this all the time. We look at a website, the client says it's not, generating any leads for SEO, it's not ranking well or anything like that. And then we look at it and it's like, are you running ads? Are you doing PPC ads, Facebook ads, or something like that? They're like, oh yeah, we got those running. That's basically how we sustain ourselves. But we're trying to get into SEO, but it's not doing anything. And we got a good looking website. Well, it's optimized for PPC. Again, there's very specific content, very specific structure for a PPC, almost landing page per se, that is good for that strategy, but it's not good for an SEO strategy, which is ranking on Google search results, right? So that's another common situation that I see when people are asking, why am I not ranking well, right? Why am I not getting leads from Google, right? And this has nothing to do with paid, because you could be doing that. And you could be getting leads from there, but you're trying to kind of merge the two, because paid advertising can get a little expensive, right? And then the final one that we see quite a bit is, maybe you did get a professional to build your website. It looks really good. It seems like it has good content, but you're still not getting leads. We look at it, we do an analysis, and it pretty much starts showing that the structure is not done correctly. What I mean by structure, there's very specific SEO pages that we call them that will help pretty much manage the conversation or control the conversation with Google. For example, good example, if you have a website but it's not talking about the specific cities where you do business and the service that you offer and how you can help, you're leaving a lot of money on the table, because there's a lot of important keywords that are geo-specific, right? Geolocation specific. And that's some of the things. Structure becomes one of the major portions. So just to reiterate, you either have a brochure website, right? You have a website that's geared towards PPC, or your architecture, your website structure is just not very good.
I'm gonna enhance on that the structure side. You and I talk about this quite a bit. We're really playing with two totally different elements here, and why I feel like the number one reason real estate investors struggle with this is they don't understand they're talking to 2 different audiences. One audience is the Google, right? The Google bot, the spiders. And I was just on a call with a prospect a little bit before we went live here today, and this is what I was explaining. The bot can only read certain language. It can only read things like tags and codes and content. It's kind of like me. I understand English. I don't read or understand Spanish. So if you put Spanish in front of me, I'm going to struggle to understand what that is. Googlebot's the same thing. It doesn't look at a flashy picture or watch the video or look at how cool the graphics are on the website. It can't understand that language. The other side of that coin is we're speaking to the searcher, the human, the you and I's that actually understand the context that's being put on there. We understand an image. We can draw our own conclusion from an image that we see. We can watch a video and gain some information out of that. We can read, right, and draw our own conclusion out of what's being said. So the fine balance between the two is also, in my opinion, kind of a huge element to pay attention to. We've got to talk to the Google bot the right way. That's kind of what you're saying, I believe, with the structure, the code, the metadata, behind the scenes kind of stuff, the boring stuff for the average individual like myself. But we've also got to find this fine blend where when a human actually gets on there, we feel comfortable. Right? I enjoy the interaction that I'm getting from this site. And it's kind of like a fine art. And I think that's one thing that we've done really well with the real estate side is help bring those real estate investors the best of both worlds, right? We could talk to the robot. That's why we've got Mr. Googlenator on our team. But at the same time, we can do it in a way where the user, the human, finds your website, gets on that website, gets driven there by you. However they get there, they find value. And that is, I feel like that's the key. When I'm providing value on both ends of the spectrum, I'm winning no matter what.
Absolutely. I think you bring up a very valuable point there because there is a mix. And we joke about it all the time. It's very, very real when it comes to either talking to Google or talking to your actual ideal client, right? So you can't, there's a way to talk to both, but there's also a strategy to speed up the process of getting to that conversation to get in front of the ideal client. Because if Google doesn't know you outside of your competition or anything like that, then and you create your content more to speak to a human, right? And you don't think about the keywords, you don't think the technical, we call it more technical SEO, then it's going to take you forever to rank because you're not approaching it aggressively, right? You're not strategically approaching your strategy to rank. You're basically still in a way just holding back because you're like, I know what Google wants, right? Instead of going and studying what Google wants and then adding it to your content, you're assuming that you know, which kind of puts you at a disadvantage a lot of times. But what we've kind of done and kind of it works very well is basically come out of the gate basically doing a lot of technical SEO, right, Shawn? It's like we come out of the gate with a very, very technical website where we're very aggressive when it comes to like the keywords and everything like that. But once the needle starts moving, because a lot of our clients are starting from zero. I mean, they're starting from non-existent. They get into page 80, right, on Google. They get indexed, which is important. They actually exist on the Google index. And then they start coming back and they get to page 3, 2, something like that. And they're really struggling to get to page 1, right? Then we do and go and adjust the content. Then we start making some tweaks to it, either more human-like or whatever it might be, right? And that's when Google already kind of built that trust on our website, and we start kind of adjusting the content a little more towards the human. Then we start seeing a little bit more of a move. So there is a combination of strategy on both of those ends. But yeah, I think that's something to definitely bring up because if you do leave that technical portion out, again, just like you are trying to rank on Google, if you're leaving Google out of it, what Google thinks, then you're missing the point, right? You're missing the train when it comes to trying to rank well.
And I love that you bring up the content side because if I had to put a number 2 to this whole thing, right? The number 2 reason why a lot of real estate investors are struggling here to get leads online is just that it's content. Their website never really has anything of value. In this case, content online. When we talk content, we talk about this with our clients all the time. Blogs, podcasts like this, video content, social content that's being pushed over to it, FAQ content, right? Being a real estate specialist, a real estate professional, it's a broad broad term. It's like saying I'm an accountant. Well, what kind of business are you an accountant to? I'm an attorney. What kind of an attorney? I'm a doctor. Well, what do you specialize in, right? Real estate's the same thing. You've got to have this specialty. Well, how do you kind of translate to the average individual that you are the specialist, the expert? And I know we've talked about this here on the show, the eat element to all of this. How do you also translate that to Google? It's through showcasing your expertise. How do you showcase your expertise? You create content, you answer questions, you bring value to a topic. Right. I go back to the mastermind call that I was on this morning. One of the runners of the breakout session, he was like, "You didn't even get a chance to ask any questions. All you did was provide a bunch of value to everybody that was on." Well, they happen to be talking about a topic today that I'm kind of an expert in. I've got some expertise in the topic of generating cold traffic. So I didn't have any specific questions, but what I did have was value that I could add to others around that brought light over towards us as an agency, right? By the head runners of this thing to say, wait a minute, these guys actually are knowledgeable in this space. They're kind of the expert at this. That same strategy, that was one on, that was face to face on a Zoom call. That same strategy applies though when it comes to creating content for your web presence onto that website. So I know you can expand a little bit deeper on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to kind of give everybody kind of a little bit, if you do go and do, it's a real thing. It's actually part of the Google algorithm, something that's built into it that they look for. But when we talk about EAT, that Shawn just mentioned, it's basically an acronym that stands for expertise, authority, and trust. And that's one of the things that Google, when it scans, when we call it Googlebot, right? When it scans content, it's looking for that expertise, authority of the content, and trust. And how does it even know? It looks at who wrote it, right? What kind of information is it? What kind of references are you using? Basically, where are you linking to? Where you got your information from, right? It's like just stuff like that. And that's how it builds a score. To kind of give your content score, and then it kind of basically scores it against your competition. That's how it comes up with how high you're going to rank. And the better score you get, the higher you rank. And just because the first time around you create a piece of content and it didn't rank well, you can actually go back and refresh that piece of content, add more value, add more examples, add more references, something, right? That's of value. And there's so many ways to do it. So I'm not even going to get into those, but you can go back and refresh existing content, whether it's service pages, city pages, or even simple, Q&A blogs that you have, and you can get in some of those top rankings as well, just by continuously doing a little bit of legwork and updating. But I think you also pointed something out, Shawn, that's really important that sometimes gets left out as well, is kind of the media, right? That can be added to your website. And I think that's a lot of times we struggle, even if you have, let's say, a true situation, someone does go out and create everything we talked about here, a good structured website with good content, and they're generating traffic, and they're still not getting any leads, right? What's going on? What's happening? Even the content speaking to the actual visitor, what's happening? Well, another thing that could be missing, and this is more people that actually, now we're moving into the people that are actually doing some work, right? That are doing it right. Well, what's missing? Well, you're missing the ask. You're missing the ask, right? So you're missing asking for the sale. In this case, you're missing to I want to get your phone number or your email. I'm giving you a ton of value, and me, the reader, right? I'm excited. I'm like, man, this is awesome. But I get to the bottom of the content or even the middle of the content, and all I'm getting is value. I'm not getting an ask to tell me, hey, if you want to learn more, call me. Or if you want to learn more, opt in and I'll give you a free report that will give you even more information or more value, right? We call those lead magnets, or just a call to action, right? A call to action to do something. It could be as simple as call us, right? So that's something that sometimes even the people that are, or the entrepreneurs that are doing it correct, are missing the train there, because they don't put the call to actions there, or something for free, right? A low threshold offer that will entice somebody to opt in and provide information, basically an email, phone number, something like that. So then you can continue to market to those people, because majority of the people that come to your website are not ready for real estate investors, right? They're not ready to sell their house. What they're looking for is information, because they're trying to get out of a really bad situation, right? Like a distressed situation. They're going through a divorce. They're going through foreclosure. They're going through, a probate situation, and they just don't know where to turn. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to go find a We Buy Houses company or something like that. They're typing
that right
in.
there,
Go
that
ahead.
right there deserves it. I can't echo that one enough. They don't care about getting a cash offer today.
Right.
They're not ready for that.
Nope.
I love how you just put that.
Yeah, they're not ready for that. What they're looking for is the process, right? I'm in Maryland here, Silver Spring, Maryland. If I was going through a foreclosure process and I had no idea and I'm just stressed out, I'll go to Google and say, what's the foreclosure process in Maryland, right? What's the legal stuff? Well, you could literally write a blog that states that if you're in Maryland and you're a home buyer and you're doing all this, you better have a blog that's talking about that, because somebody's going to find you. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to read that. And I'm going to be like, oh, here are my options. You gave me literally a blog that talks about all my options. And one of the options is, you can just call me and I'll buy it for cash right now. Take that off your chest. I'm like, done. Let me call you, right? But a lot of the content that we see out there isn't doing that, or it doesn't even exist, right? All it is I'll give you cash. Call me, and you're expecting people to know, to basically know what you do or how you can help them, but they're not going to do that. And you can't put everything on one page either, guys. You can't do like one paragraph for all on one page. No, you have to have very specific, dedicated pieces of content. That's why we drive a lot on pushing our clients to do blogs, right? Or we do them on our SEO process. Is content is huge, because we can dedicate one piece of content dedicated to one topic. We can actually look for the most searched valuable keywords. We basically pack them into that piece of content, so that piece of content ranks where it's supposed to, right? Independently. Someone will find it and eventually we'll put a call to action on it, and they will call our client to then, hopefully do business with them. But it's a nurturing process as well.
Absolutely. I love how you're talking about the call to action, or the ask. If you guys are watching this video, not just listening, the whole time we've been on, there's been a ticker running across the bottom that's got multiple asks. You want to get better results? You want to take your business to another level? Go check out this free training over here. We got our Baltimore event coming up, right? Go register. We're asking you to register for that. We're asking for you to engage. You say hi in the comments, ask a question in the comments. Always be asking for the next step. And this is something I love to talk and translate to. It's dating, right? It's dating. That first piece of content they read, they just became aware of you. That's it. It's like Roger and his now wife, the night that they met at the party. He knew she was on the other side of the room. She knew he was there. That's as far as it was going that night. Unless what happened, right? They end up small talking, engaging, communicating. And at some point, Roger, you had to ask for the phone number. You had to ask for the next date, right? You had to ask to see her again. And at some point, to get it to where it is today, you had to ask her for the hand of marriage, or you wouldn't be married to her, kids, all of this stuff, right?
Exactly. It's a process. And if you want, I mean, like anything else, and we can compare it in dating, in business, in just about anything, right? In just getting in shape, right? You can't go from not working out for years, right, to being a bodybuilder. There's an entire process in between that you got to go through, and it's painful. And all we see is the before and after pictures on Instagram, right? It's like, hey, here I am, you can do it, right? That's just like, and that's the most,
still working on it.
Exactly. But in reality, it's like, we don't talk about the non-sexy part, right? We don't talk about the middle, the months and months and months of just kind of like dieting and training and all this stuff. Same thing with your online presence. Same thing with dating. It's a process, and you have to kind of know. You have to have a game plan, first of all, right? You have to have an objective. What are you trying to do? Because that's the other thing. Shawn uses dating. I like to use racing, right? It's like as kind of like an example of where you are, because that's how I see, trying to rank on Google and what it is and how it compares to your competition. I mean, it's who's going to, what's the driver that's going to have the best car, right? With the strongest motor, and how you're going to get there. And if you're in a race, but you don't know where the finish line is, you're in the wrong race, right? It's like you're never, even though you have the best car, the fastest car, you're still not going to win. Why? Because you're in the wrong race. You don't know where you're going. Your competition, that's a turtle, right? Very slow, is still going to beat you because they know where the end point is. So you have to have an objective, and that's when I kind of gear toward. I start thinking about the individual pages, right? The keywords, because that's what it is. My race is, for example, if my keyword is "we buy houses in Baltimore," you better believe I'm going to create a page on my client's site that's very specific to that keyword. And I'm going to come up with every different example and everything I can come up with, accessory keywords to sprinkle in that content. Make sure that Google, there is no mistake. Google's like, this guy, this company does business in Baltimore. They buy houses for cash. They can help people in foreclosure, bankruptcy. This is a very, very specific, controlled. So I know where the endpoint is. And now Google starts building that trust. Like, these guys know what's going on. We're going to start putting them in front of people that are searching for this keyword. And obviously there's going to be competition there. My job is to continue tweaking that page to make sure Google's moving me up slowly but surely, right? Until we get to the top. Then we go to the next one and the next one, right? And there's just kind of like rinse and repeat after that.
All right, so I think it's a pretty good one for today. I do want to leave everybody with a quick action item, though. Go take a look at your current site. And after you've listened to this, watched this, taken some notes, go take a look at your website and ask yourself that question. Does it have the components that Roger was talking about? Does it speak to the robot from a technical standpoint and more humanized to the searcher? Does it have an ask? Does it have fresh content? Am I putting consistent fresh content to it? And if you're answering no to the vast majority of these, if you're answering yes, then the next question you just need to ask yourself is, are you actually getting the results that you want? And why not? Is it speed? Is it the consistency behind it? What is it, right, that you got to keep doing more of? Maybe you need to look at outsourcing, get rid of some of those tasks so that it can become more of a consistent basis. But if you're answering no to a lot of this stuff, then I encourage you, reach out. Let's get on a call. Let's dissect what you've got. Let's talk about the fixes. How do we solve it? Right? Because that's the cool thing with all of this. I know we talked a lot about kind of the negative elements today. The good news is every bit of this is fixable. Every bit of this is able to be turned around really, really fast. And before you know it, you'll be seeing things like a lot of our clients have been posting lately. They had these problems. They reached out to us, and now they're getting organic leads. Their website's actually doing something for them, not just kind of being that dead brochure hanging out there. So anything you want to leave everybody with?
Yeah, I think a good one for this particular podcast is not to go out there and compare yourself to your competition at this point, especially if you have no idea, right? You're getting this, you're excited about the content. You're like, I'm going to go check my website. Don't go compare yourself to someone that's ranking number one already in your market, or even your friend that's been spending a lot, time on their SEO. Look at your stuff and make sure you have these components, because what happens as well is something called a domain authority score, an authority score overall for your brand online. And there could be a brand that has been doing this for years. They got a lot of good authority with Google, and as soon as they pop in a new city page or a new blog post, they rank right away. That's because they've done the legwork. They have the trust. You're a brand new, a new kid on the block. So Google needs to build that trust, and you have to start with the foundational pieces. And that's what we talked about today.
Absolutely. So as you see running across the bottom of the screen as well, if you want a little bit more detailed hand holding, kind of the 7-step process around getting all that, you go and do this kind of exercise and you say no. You want to kind of guide yourself through this a little bit, maybe try it on your own. Head over to topresultsconsulting.com/7 steps. Roger and I broke down across that mini series, literally the 7-step process that we take every single one of our clients through. So you guys can kind of follow that process through. And then if you're in and around the Baltimore area, you want to join us next Sunday, the 19th, for our live in-person workshop, or if you want to just join us virtually if you're not in and around the Baltimore area, register for free. Reach out. We'll get you that registration link. There's still space available for the in-person, and I'm excited for that because I know you and I, we're going to be dropping some mad gold bars that whole entire day. We're probably going to leave everybody like mind spinning like crazy with stuff. So definitely be worth being on either virtually or live in person. So with that being said, we'll see you guys back here next week on another episode of the Web Buzz podcast. In the time being, if you got any questions, don't hesitate. Reach out. Let us know what you got. Let us know how we can help you. And from Mr. Google Nader himself, I'm sure he's going to tell you guys, just go out and take action. But you want to leave him with your final words there?
Yeah, that's exactly it, man. I want everybody to get out there and take some action. I want to see some more of you guys ranking and getting some leads. So get out there and take some action.
Absolutely. And as always, till we see you guys next week, here's to your success. See you later.